Welcome everyone to the 26th exhibition of Stupid People. Today we are going to cover somebody that I've known for a long time. An incredibly long time. Someone whose content I'm all too familiar with because it would fill my subscription feed up quite a lot. Hard to believe that videos shot on one's phone are so easy to produce and upload. I can't imagine why. The reason, by the way, for this one particular video, there is a personal interest in this particular target. There is a background, and I will give you the full context, so you can best understand. I'm going to say this now, I don't care for gaslighting, and I don't care for bullying. What I care for are the facts, and I have all of the current incident facts. The only facts I don't have are the ones that came before, which is why I have to paint a picture for everyone present. The person I'm speaking of is the person you saw in the thumbnail, and the person I tweeted that thumbnail of out 4 days ago. I'm also going to preface this by saying the following. Just because somebody is mentally handicapped does not mean they are free from criticism. It just means one has to be incredibly careful with how they proceed. And I will never make fun of somebody if they are mentally handicapped. Please don't at me if you think I have. It just shows a complete lack of understanding of the kind of person I am and the kind of content I produce. The person we're going to discuss has gone by many names, but you can just call him Gabe. The history of Gabe can go back as far as 4 years, possibly longer. I first recalled hearing of this Gabe courtesy of a channel called Panda Bearing. Not to be confused with Panda Bear, she's someone else. And they are vastly different. Panda Bearing was a rip-off of Bearing, just coloured to look like a panda. But then something happened, and I can't remember if you changed to Liger first, or if this incident happened first. And I had to reach out to my dear friend, whose name I'm not going to mention, because she was 15 at the time. She gave me a statement though. This statement, clarifying a few little details. Now, she was bullied horrifically by your defenders, some calling her an enabler, a manipulator. Others flayed you. They flayed you. This, by the way, this incident, this I thought and I'd believed would never happen again. Oh dear Lord. We'll get to that. After Panda Bearing's sudden demise, or Liger, I don't know which order, up came a new one, a new avatar and a new personality with the same voice and same argumentation and the same type of content that was dead in 2015, called Caramel Corn, or for the Brits, Caramel. Now, as far as content, style and format goes, it followed a simple premise, an intro, and then an intro video, and then the same argumentation used in every single video. My view was, make your videos because you're making your points. These are points that come from you. Take no issue with it. It's just stale. That's it, really. I'm hardly one to talk, of course, but that's not the point, and nor is this about me. This is about you, Gabe. After the demise of Caramel Corn, up came, I don't know which names actually. There was FSP Productions, which is weird because the P in FSP stood for Productions. There was Fat Samurai, Gabe the Fat Samurai. In fact, the name changed so many times, I was a tad unsure as to who I was subscribed to in my subscription feed. I was confused. The only thing it gave you away is the fact that you go on camera sometimes, so I was able to eventually work it out. There is a trend with you, a facade. And I call it a facade because it is a clear one, because I am somebody you messaged frequently, and I, being polite and courteous, responded to you. Granted, in 2016 I was a vulnerable man, so I was going to say hello and be nice and kind and polite, hell, even go so far as to have guest videos on my channel that I truly didn't want, because I was not in the right state of mind. Not that that is in any way an excuse to engage in conversation with you, but I did get consent, thankfully, from the person whose statement I showed you earlier. I also said I was going to keep you away from them. But I found out recently that you've still been messaging them, meaning I failed. Great. There was always something about you that made me uncomfortable, no doubt. But I've always believed in never judging somebody because of how I felt and entirely on their actions. Your actions have now become your undoing, and I will very soon show all those damn receipts I've got, because you delete Twitter accounts a lot. I know this because when you used to DM me, I get another DM from you or a tweet saying, please follow my new account so I can DM you again. To the point where I said to you, if you could go a whole week without losing your account because you kept on having a go at feminists, and they kept reporting you because you got a bit too aggressive, yeah, I remember that by the way, then I would give you the refollow. But you didn't do it, did you? No. You managed 3 days. Interesting. Very interesting. Because I've got a mountain of DMs from people now telling me I shouldn't make this video because of how nice and lovely you are, but I remember all the Twitter accounts you had with you being nothing but an abusive and a bully. I don't like abusers or bullies. I promise you I don't. Which is why I never accepted the more recent message requests, which I have the DMs of still from January of this year. Yeah, I noticed. So, over the years, Gabe has produced hundreds of videos and makes content around, let's say, the culture war. On top of the culture war, a bit of gaming content too. I'm not going to judge the gaming content, it's not my place. I'm not going to judge your content either, I just want people to know you make content, and now I'm going to say something I have to say with absolute clarity. No one is to go to his channel and harass or bully him. This video is from me to him. You are not to do that. I will not tolerate it. I will not enable it. You are so annoying. I have been so polite and kind to you, Gabe. I really have. And I didn't have to. No one did. Let's move on before I get really cross. So now we're going to skip ahead to present. Let's in fact go to February 28th, but we'll call it the present. Do you see the image on the screen there, Gabe? Yeah, that's your ISO cube. I hope you enjoy it. It looks cozy and there's room for no one. What is it that got my attention, that sparked my interest, that got me to decide, I didn't address you in 2016 and 17, I'll do it now instead? Well, as it turns out, because I don't follow many of the people you sent those messages to, I do now, by the way. I should probably go follow the rest. If I haven't, DM me. I'll correct it. It was the simple fact that somebody whose name I am not going to mention sent a message to FabFitGeeky, who very kindly agreed to let me use her name in this. So a DM that was intended for her went to me, because I have a bit of an open door policy when it comes to helping people, especially those that are struggling, and of course want to talk. I just struggle to get to a lot of the messages, but I do usually reply, which is where the accident occurred. And then I saw your name. This is the DM, by the way. Notice how I immediately knew who you were. I knew straight away, because I notice a lot more than you realize. Over a very short conversation, which I'm now not going to show you, and a number of Snapchat messages that I received from them instead because video was easier, they explained the full context. I reached out to people, got information. Others indicated they were going to deal with it. I decided after a few days, no, you had your chance in 2016 to learn, adapt, improve, make amends, and move on. But you didn't, did you? I'd like to believe the first person who gave that statement I showed at the start was patient zero in this. I'm not convinced. So an accident got my attention. And because of the accident, here we are. Exhibition of Stupid People number 26 with an ISO cube ready for you, Gabe. I spent all weekend, instead of working on a content constable video with Irate Alex, reaching out to all relevant parties, which is probably where you found out that I was onto you, because I tweeted directly to them, people you were having arguments with, and then got your fans to argue with. I won't be drawn in on the gaslighting argument again, nor any of the arguments of harassment and bullying. The DMs will do all the talking, and we're going to get to those very soon, Gabriel. Very soon. Needless to say, my weekend was incredibly busy, filling up folder upon folder upon folder with more and more messages, pictures, videos, and basically things I didn't need to see, some of which were accidental. I'm going to make this now, this very obvious point. I have no intention of mocking you for spending 2 minutes trying to put on a bra. I'm not going to mock you for the alleged video you may have sent somebody of you maybe-ish, possibly, playing with yourself. Although how on earth you managed to accidentally send that message in the first place is a mystery to me. Because you have claimed, as have those that have defended you, it was an accident, but you were not touching yourself. But who accidentally sends a picture of themselves with their top up underneath one of their chins? So I guess if we're going to start anywhere, we may as well start with the messages between yourself and Mikey. And of course, Mikey's fiancée. Because there's a history there, and that is, to be honest, where I first was made truly aware of the situation, because I reached out to Mikey with regards to all of this, where I obtained screenshots from himself and his fiancée with their consent. I'm now going to show them. From Mikey, the shots were actually conversations with his fiancée. I can't imagine why you spent so much time in her DMs. Did you know they were engaged? Doesn't matter. You sent a wall of text, as is customary, accompanied by a picture, because you did a video without a shirt on, and Sir Adamantine, who remembers you from 4 years ago, commented. He's not a fan of you, by the way. I know this because I spoke to Ferret recently. You should remember Ferret. Yes, Ferret actually told Sir Adamantine, once I'd indicated to Ferret this was happening. Yes, no one was impressed. And let's ignore Alex, he's just being a dick. Anyway, what started this was the fact that you tagged Mikey's fiancée in a post. The post was a video, calling her a basic white bish. Understandably, Mikey was none too impressed, and retweeted by saying this. Understandably, you took offence to that because you were a dick in the first place, but you're the real victim here. And because Mikey has a bigger audience, that had to play a part in this. So the following screenshots are from that conversation, which ended with, I believe, you blocking both Mikey and Mikey's fiancée, because you can't take criticism and you have to go to block. Block mode is your safe space. Block mode is your way to, I believe you'll call it,
I'm seriously stressed, which is why I blocked you in the first place.
It should now be pointed out, if it were not for the help of Mikey and his fiancée, I wouldn't have been given a list of over, I believe, 15 women, and I reached out to most of them, and I got all those damn screenshots, along with that really weird video of you trying on a bra. I can't believe it took you 4 years to finally get one, but I guess confidence being in the ground maybe, or just because you couldn't be bothered to use Amazon. One of the first people to respond to me was Panda Bear. So I spent over 2 days going through messages with her, who I still message now. She's very nice to talk to. Go subscribe. And she sent me every damn screenshot. So what I'm going to do is put them all on the screen and talk while you read them. By all means, if I move too fast, pause the video and read them. The interesting thing about these is there's a facade. The earlier mentioned facade of kindness. Notice the shortness of one person's messages to the wall of text from the other. How one starts the conversation and the other only engages eventually. Timestamps are so important. Weirdly, this is something I had to deal with you, Gabe, quite a lot. Sometimes it would take me 2 to 3 days to get to you because I was busy replying to everyone else. Not because I didn't want to reply, of course that's impolite on my part, but entirely because I was too busy and a simple short message was all that was truly needed. This particular trend, though, you probing deeper and deeper, claiming that you asked consent to bring up these subjects when you didn't do it at all, is something that is reflective in not just Panda Bear's DMs, but also in every other person's DMs. I should also say, because this is an obvious one, I did at the start of the message chain there blank the images. They weren't Gabe's images. They were Panda Bear's. They were hers from her weight loss journey. Meaning he had to have downloaded them onto his phone to then repost them, which is a tad creepy. So is also mentioning that you found your PP. I don't know why you wanted to bring it up. I guess I could just say weird flex, but okay, and why you felt the need to go so deep with your own personal stuff onto others is a mystery. Almost as if you like to put your problems onto others. Seek validation. Then again, Panda Bear and a few others managed to work out something quite interesting. A trend not just in the framing of all your messages to all the women involved in this, but the type of woman you go for. The word vulnerable is almost the operative word in the entire thing. Disabled also plays a part. I could continue if you'd like. Because the messages are one thing. The statements, by the way, your statement and your responses are the part that make this look less timid and a timid guy trying to get close to people to be friends with them, and more like somebody who had planned ahead. Now, before we move on to anyone else, I'm actually going to finish up with what you sent to Panda Bear, because it spanned over a number of hours, with you playing defense and being proud of everything you said. In fact, yeah, Panda Bear made 2 videos where she went through all those messages over a number of hours.
Screenshots of more, I guess, proof of his innocence, but I'm just, like, confused. It's not really clearing up anything, but okay. She says, I don't think so. I'm not getting involved in the threads. I'd rather not feed the rumor mill. Just know I don't agree at all with what they're saying. I haven't forgotten the message you recorded for me when I was struggling to find my place, and I haven't forgotten the respect you showed me when you spoke to me about sensitive topics. You came to me asking for a bra and cross-dressing advice, and I'm glad you could trust me. To me, you've been nothing but kind. And then the rest is cropped. We don't see it. So I heard that, honestly, that this is manipulated as well, because we don't see the rest of it. She is the one in the screenshots where she told me not to say anything, but not safe for work. What? I thought it was someone else. Okay. This is how I treat people, and this is how I pride myself in acting, even if I fuck up. What? Like I said, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a predator. And I know you're not accusing me of that. But I'm just saying, in general, that's what the mob is going after me for. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a predator. I've never been put in this position before. I don't know what to think. Yeah, that's for damn sure. I did not know what was going on. But now I do. Alright, now here's what I'm thinking. I've said my piece to Wolfie. I've staked my claim. I know plenty of women who think nothing but the world of me. Congratulations! That solves everything. And I've said some pretty inappropriate things to them with their consent. Okay? If people want to lie about me, they can go ahead and do that. But I know plenty of women that are willing to stand up for me. Don't see very many. I'm going to stick to my principles because I know who I am as a human being at the end of the day, and I know who I am as a man at the end of the day. Honestly, my friend pointed out that that's not in your character because you've presented yourself as some shy, awkward, socially awkward, feminine, timid man, and now you're standing up as a man? Isn't that contradictory to the persona that you have invented?
In total, it's over 30 minutes of reading DMs. Both of those videos, by the way, are unlisted, but I've asked for permission from Panda Bear, and I have linked them in the description down below. If you would like to have a look, by all means do so. And if you're watching, Gabriel, go nuts. I keep hearing rumours that you have evidence. Where is it? Constantly saying I'll do it privately does not mean now you can do it privately. And I should finally address the part where you actually blocked Panda Bear, because Panda Bear does reference this in the 30-minute video, and I find it to be quite fascinating. Using others to send walls of text, for them not fully understanding what is going on, and then for you, when they don't take your side 100%, to simply block because purity test failed? How pathetic. Over the years, I've noticed many people argue over small trivial things, and they don't block. They instead either seek to resolve or agree to disagree. In this instance, there's a third one. Panda Bear had DMs with all the other women. Yeah, that's when she decided to walk away, because this was a bit much. Your behaviour, by the way, is sociopathic. It is very much that. and I'll get further into proving it with everyone else's DMs. I do want to say this now. Huge thank you to Panda Bear for being so open, kind, honest, and upfront with me. These DMs, those videos, oh yes, very helpful. I might stick them in a folder, a cloud storage folder, and just let everyone go nuts and have a look. We'll see. To the next one of your, survivors? Yeah, survivors. Next I want to move on to a folder within my folder. This time we're going to go in order. Well, we'll miss Irate Alex's, but there's a reason for that for later. We're going to go to FabFitGeeky, who very kindly furnished me with some DMs. These are the DMs you see on the screen. Notice how they're very polite, very courteous, very kind. It seems almost like there's nothing to them really. A bit TMI here and there, and I did ask about this. Yes, this did make her uncomfortable, but she didn't want to say no. A common trend, and one I will discuss with her at a later date. Although she's quite informative, I'll give her that. So notice how over the time, progression becomes more and more, and the questions and the answers get a bit more challenging, leading to a incident where a lady was streaming and she no longer wanted to associate with Gabe because her boyfriend didn't like him. I have paraphrased that significantly, and that's when Gabe decides to switch, sending walls of text moaning about the fact that somebody moved on. Essentially, moved on. Although he does point out some of the obvious about how someone felt uncomfortable around him. Yes. Carrying on with this though, Fab basically gave shorter answers, and of course made some excuses while playing devil's advocate for a moment, which was unacceptable to Gabe, and it got worse with him then sharing the comment he left underneath a rather long stream. I'm sensing some issues with rejection. This, by the way, this little segment on Fab's messages, I only wanted to focus on this, because notice, much like with Panda Bears, it's all nice, courteous, and clearly buttering up to then slide some rather personal comments in that nobody really wants. To then, when you're getting into trouble, or when something happens that you don't like, you use your friends to just unload. Now this is quite common with friends. We are supposed to be there for one another, but I don't think Fab asked for you to do that, or was okay with it. In fact, I've asked her. It was not okay. But as is the case with all the women involved in this, the majority struggled to say no to you because of the character you portrayed, which vanishes the moment you don't get your own way. Weirdly, this reminded me a lot of something which thankfully somebody had the video of, done by the Forbidden Thinker. Now, I don't really care for the video itself. It's got an obscenely long intro from the guy with an obscenely long outro. But within the video there are screenshots. Those screenshots are of interactions with you and Critical Thinker, along with Discord, with you complaining that he shared your server out even though it was in the description to your videos, because you're a genius. Looking to invite new people to your server and build a community, surely you'd welcome them in. No, you banned them. You banned all those naysayers because we can't have differing opinions now, can we? The point, by the way, of showing Fab's messages was to show how quick you change, but also how needy you are for validation from others. So now we're going to move on to somebody else's DMs. There's more, and I have no intention of stopping yet. So next we're going to go to Just Sarah. According to a number of people who have reached out to me, Just Sarah is a narcissistic manipulator. But when pressed on this issue on Twitter and, of course, everywhere else where this has cropped up, nothing has been offered as a counter, only that one should cease and desist. I have no intention of doing it. The receipts shall do the talking for me. For this, I asked Just Sarah to provide me with a statement so I could best understand where this all came up from, where it started. That sounds great to me. Gabe and I met through leaving comments on the same ALR and Chantal posts. He decided to slide into my DMs and subscribe to my channel right away. He immediately started pushing his political and religious beliefs onto me. I would also wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes think, well, might as well check Twitter. He'd always be there at the same time in my DMs. I immediately shut off my phone at that point. He would randomly pop in my inbox and say really odd and sometimes uncomfortable things. One time out of the blue he asked, "So you had anorexia for 5 years?" This is that message, by the way. That was awkward for me because I just recovered last October. Another time he went into my DMs and said, "Are you sure you're in your 30s? I said, yes. He said, "Well, you sure don't look like it." I will say, I get why some make compliments, so perhaps that was the intended effect. Of course, when you add everything up, it doesn't come across as that, does it? Eventually, he told me he wanted to cross-dress and acted like he was so embarrassed for telling me. I seriously thought he had gender identity issues as well as being socially awkward, so I thought I was being there for him. I would try to be patient with his Twitter videos he'd send me, how he kept complaining about the Me Too movement, but he really tested my patience when he tried to stick his nose into my activism. Someone was asking me about something I'm directly involved in, and he inserted himself saying I already made a video on it and then linked his video. I ignored him, but I wasn't happy. And then, of course, came the inevitable bra-related commentary. A trend that's still repeating itself. How strange. Our last interaction was him going off about at LGBT hashtag. I got angry because I was tired of his homophobia. He ended up sending me a very long DM and I blocked him, which is a rare treat. Usually it's the other way round first. When I found out everyone's stories, I tried confronting him on Instagram. He went private and I contacted him again. He deleted his account. Now I, of course, got full permission from Just Sarah to show this. Because I asked for consent, Gabe. You know what that is, don't you? That culture war. Bit dark down there, isn't it? I also want to highlight the fact that much like everything else with Gabe, there are also comments in here that seem to be innocuous. The usual bump of applying certain things to get people to give him what they or he wants. Needless to say, Just Sarah was not impressed, and this was the message she sent him before he privated his Instagram. Yes. I'm wondering if she had a right to be angry. Let me just think about that. I wonder. I'm starting to notice trends though, and I'm hoping my lovely audience are too. I'm not done yet either, by the way, because it still bugs me not only the pattern of how you behave with people, but how you decide to handle it once it's in the open. There are statements I got from people I'm going to get to soon explaining some of your behaviors, how you hide, you rebranded, you tried to find routes to get out of it, but then continue what you were doing. That shows no level of improvement, no level of learning, no level of willingness to be a better man. Instead, it shows you think you're right 'cause you're right. And when people challenge you on this, you block and hide, either until it blows over or until you've found a new community to get involved in. By the way, I've been meaning to ask this. How on earth did you find out about Amber Lynn Reid in the first place? Because unless memory serves, I don't think you knew who she was until I made my very first content constable. Interesting. I have to say this again, because we've got another one of those DMs I want to go through. This is from Sarusa. If I've mispronounced your name, I'm very sorry. The DMs are quite extensive, but yet again, there is a clear and concise pattern that always inevitably ends up being discussing his breasts and his pee-pee. Yet again, bringing that one up. I'm gonna say it again. Weird flex, but okay. Thankfully, Sarusa has very kindly ordered this, so I'm just gonna let it play through. Please pause on each one if you want to read the entire thing. You can clearly tell when someone is uncomfortable from the abrupt answers they give. It is an obvious tell. But it doesn't stop Gabe. Oh no, he's a real tryhard. Although, the messages do become less frequent when he finds out they have a boyfriend or a child. This is probably one of the very few times I've actually seen a DM chain where he hasn't gone off on one, minus the video that I haven't seen because I can't imagine why. Because of political difference. How strange. Gabe, 4 years ago you had this issue obtaining a chesticle holster. Have you ever considered going online? I mean, you live on your phone. I mean, getting measured was always going to be an obstacle, but not an impossible one to overcome. I hear if you just keep hitting the X on Chinese sizes, eventually you'll find the right one. Or if you have a version of it in the States, we have a Primark. Primark is a clothes store that sells things that are a little bit odd in size sometimes. Buy a medium shirt, it will usually fit XXL. One sleeve will be shorter than the other though. Then again, debunking a theory I had, you've admitted to being a nudist. Panda Bear very kindly reminded me of this. I was a tad befuddled, baffled, and thought, wait, that's the reason he doesn't wear clothes? Okay. I thought it was because you couldn't get a tarp big enough. One of those that was very vocal early on with how uncomfortable she was made to feel because of Gabe's messages was Trash Queen. These are some of the messages she was able to salvage, but she did indicate to me that he used to send messages asking for help with choosing bras. Can't imagine why, and I don't recall ever mentioning it before. To which she agreed to because she thought he needed help, like everyone else. And then once he started sending pictures, she told him that it made her uncomfortable, and he just stopped. I'm surprised he didn't have a hissy fit. Interestingly, once this was all outed, courtesy of Just Sarah and others who worked tirelessly to get enough information to be sure of this, many people then came out of the woodwork. Oh dear Lord, what have you done, Gabriel? Who on earth takes advantage of the goodwill of so many people, so many, over what can loosely be described as a more than likely narcissistic tendency-riddled fetish, where you follow the pattern, you work your way in, and then you talk about your boobs, because that's something you are very proud of, which I've shown in the DM so far, and somehow this is your release. Quite frankly, it is unacceptable behaviour, something I am not alone in saying or believing. But of course, how did you react when all these people came out? They're all narcissistic manipulators, while saying it behind a block button. I know about the block button because you blocked me, which astonished me considering our DMs go back 4 years. But I'm the enemy because I was willing to speak to yours. Interesting. Almost like you weren't willing to talk to me. I can't imagine why. So now we come to a part I'm actually looking forward to. Statements from the survivors, those who have had to endure all those messages and all the subsequent, let's call it, targeted harassment and abuse from your supporter or two. The fact you have any is astonishing. In the echo chamber where if you are so much as criticised once, you ban them. That was earlier proven in the Discord messages from Critical Thinker in Forbidden Thinker's video. Yes, clever stuff, right? Because there are some that are video-based, and there are some that are written. I've obviously read the first statement from Patient Zero. I've read Just Sarah's, but I have others. So let's go through those. A dear friend of mine called Ash, who you found out about because of me, gave me a little statement because she actually found you to be a little disturbing, because you shouted her out, which is fantastic. I'm sure she gained at least maybe one subscriber, where you did an entire video topless with a photo of her in the video, which is quite interesting because when she spoke about this discomfort with a friend, he subsequently made a response video for the Bants. Yes, I'm not going to play it because you might think he meant it and that he was actually defending you. He wasn't. But I can't help but notice the discomfort again. Interesting. I got a statement from Foxy. I remember Foxy, good mate of mine actually, who says a few months ago, about midsummer I think, Gabe started following me on Twitter. He started DMing me about his weight loss and various other things such as Twitter arguments he had gotten into, and the religious point he took to win the argument. From the start of DMing me, something didn't sit right with me. His DMs came off as needy and pushy. I would tell him good job on whatever amount of weight he lost, and immediately I would receive paragraphs of DMs back to back about his weight loss, or something else going on in his life. I was very uncomfortable with him DMing me, but I didn't want to be rude, so I kept my replies very short, relatable, telling him good job on his weight loss, and then I would ignore him hoping he would get the hint. He would stop DMing me for about a week and then start up again. He seemed harmless, but there was always that feeling screaming at me that something wasn't right, and I was always uncomfortable with him DMing me. I felt like he was demanding my attention. He would even send me pictures of his face, which was very unnerving. Those DMs I just flat out ignored. I take pride in being able to sense people. I learned how to the hard way, and Gabe from my first interactions with him was setting off all kinds of alarms with me. It's pretty bad when just his DMs make me feel uncomfortable. He deleted all of his DMs with me prior to December. Well, we can't have any of that pesky evidence now, can we? The next statement also comes from a friend of mine called Maddie the News Chick. And it says, for the record, I was never Gabe's friend. Acquaintance or someone I talked to would be more accurate. The years are fuzzy, but I believe the first time I had contact with Gabe was back in the latter part of 2016, beginning of 2017. I could be wrong. I've always been bad at keeping track of years. I followed him because I saw him follow me on Twitter. It wasn't until I followed someone on Twitter that the insanity started. Without being prodded or asked, Gabe had flooded my DMs with defense after defense for an incident of which I was not aware of. I did not know the person he was mentioning. I only knew it was a girl because he was talking about a bra and asking her how you wear one. I read this wall of text and was stunned. Why would someone DM me with something of this nature? This was none of my business. I found out later the person who wishes to be nameless knew the girl and the incident, so I put two and two together and guessed this knee-jerk defense was because he thought the person I followed had told me what happened, which wasn't the case. I had no clue who the girl was, but here I was put in the middle of something I would have rather avoided. You see, you don't find any of these past tweets because he was known as Gabe the Pony on Twitter during those years. And Caramel Corn. Yes, he had a My Little Pony avatar as well. He came to me wondering why people were accusing him of being a... I tried to explain to him that his Avi is a well-known type to lure children by... He responded by saying, well, I like My Little Pony, and dismissed my advice. After the livestream, I stopped communicating with him. He would respond here and there to my coffee memes, trying to get a rise out of me, but nothing came of those. To my memory, the boy has gone through at least 6 different Twitter accounts and 3 different channel restarts. The Twitter account number is double digits now. I know this for certain because I followed every single damn one of them and noticed a number of dead accounts in my feed. And channel restarts is at least 3, yes. Next statement comes from Trez Silverwolf, who I reached out to yesterday. Gabe and I spoke on and off for closely 4 months in early 2018. He was hiding in Suit's old server from the bra incident, the 2016-17 one. He did inform members of the server of the drama and the people that were harassing him. He cried in my DMs about being attacked by Liz Reptile and Zephynorion's supporters because he made a video on Liz Reptile and she flagged it for copyright. Then he managed to annoy Geek Thulu and his server mates. Both times Gabe would flee to Suit's and Schmeckle's servers to be protected, which caused Suit to get his server raided. The 16-year-old Patient Zero did make peace with Gabe in Suit's server, but Gabe was wearing thin with folks. Backside kissing on live streams to respected YouTubers, muted a disabled woman for speaking because he couldn't understand her, seeking nepotism from moderators, acting like a troll on YouTube or Twitter only to run and hide, along with also pointing out that if she screenshotted the DMs, yes, it would take a while. I have 2 last statements for you now before we get to your own statement, because it is an interesting one. The first is going to be from my friend Miss Steam, and the second is going to be from Irate Alex, who certainly lives up to the name in this instance.
So, Gabe the Samurai, Panda Bearing, Caramel Corn, the Phantom Fapper. Let's talk about him. He's gone after children now, or 17-year-olds. Interesting choice. You f***ing nonce. Anyway, let's talk about the Phantom Fapper. So, when I knew Gabe, he was introduced to me through multiple YouTubers. And we didn't know anything what he was like back then because, well, no, there was no recorded incidents of it. So, technically, if anyone else comes out, I guess I'm the first victim? That's not right. I'm not really a victim. Whatever. He's still gross. Anyway, so, what happens? Well, on a live stream, I think it might have been 24-hour live stream or something like that, I had my face camera on. And when the live stream ended and everyone left, he admitted to me, I was fapping to you, I'm so sorry. And of course, the naive 16-year-old Miss Steam who didn't know what a nice guy was like, oh, I totally forgive you, while also I'm a little creeped out, but I totally forgive you. Which is mistake number one. I should have ripped him a new asshole. It might have made him rethink his choices in things later in life. But yes, and then he stalked me for a year. He was kind of a nuisance. I didn't really see him as a threat. It was just more of a nuisance. He sent me a nude once. That was funny. But yeah, I kind of blew up on him 2017, I think. I was talking, as I said, stop following me, caramel corn, I know, you know why I block you every time. And he's like, oh, I won't do it again. I guess the screenshot on my Twitter would most probably be spended account, me responding to spended account, because he's been through like, I know, 1,500 spended accounts at this point. I am very impressed that this guy went from a legal woman that was kinda naive to a literal child. Well done, you f***ing moron.
Gabe, we all make mistakes, and many of us who do what we do are very socially awkward individuals. I had to be blasted because I was leaning on my friends too much when my mental health was at its worst. I lent on 3 of them, 2 of them were guys, 1 was a girl. And I didn't know that I was damaging them mentally, and it was also having very physical repercussions for them as well. And it wasn't until someone else who had gotten wind of this came along and blasted me. Ripped my head off. In fact, he did it so badly that he later apologized to me. I actually thanked him for doing it. Because sometimes we need to know when we've gone too far. And Gabe, you are somebody who has gone too far. We told you years ago, myself and Megan, people that you called friends, apparently, we told you not to behave like that, that it was not acceptable behavior. It's also not Christian of you either. You have spent too much time on Twitter. You have spent too much time in the culture war. So much so that you used it as a form of mental abuse against ladies that were made to feel uncomfortable, who gave you their trust in the DMs. Gabe, you see what you've done here? You gained the trust out of 12 different women of all different ages, of all different backgrounds, to see what would stick. You use the exact same line of rhetoric with each one of them. Gabe, your behavior is not acceptable. It's disgusting, is what it is. Absolutely disgusting. You did this because you have sexual desires, Gabe, right? You obviously have desires, okay? Be open with them instead of suppressing them and taking it out on women who feel sorry for you. Because no one feels sorry for you now. None of those ladies feel sorry for you. They think you're a piece of shit. And I, someone who you used to call a friend, think you're a piece of shit. And I know Megan feels that way as well. Wind your neck in, Gabe, and stop it before it's too late and you find yourself on a register or in jail.
It's worth addressing this video would not have happened had you not outright rejected something that came from Alex. You see, he and I were talking about who was going to pull the trigger first. So I told him to reach out to you, and he said he would, and he did. Here it is. And you decided to basically copy-paste every excuse you gave, and of course the fact that you made up with patient 0, because that totally justifies you continuing to do the exact same thing to over a dozen women. To the point where when you continued the same excuses, along with making more gaslighting claims, to then block Alex. I went to then message, by the way, afterwards, and I found out I was blocked too. It's a shame because you would have seen the message Alex had sent you had you allowed him to forewarn you that I was going to do this video. Not because I believed it would stop you, no, but because I believed you would have then gone on the stream. Although it's more than likely I would have also gone on there anyway. I was at the time collecting quite a lot of sources, and I was reading them quite keenly. Now I did skip over your statements, but now we're going to go through your official one. The official statement of Gabe the Samurai. So we can fully understand and appreciate how you feel. So my statement, this is the final time I'm addressing any of this. It is true I said ish. I shouldn't have, and that is on me. I needed help in an area, and like with most things, I asked multiple people. I was wrong to make people feel uncomfortable. That is not ever my intent. So to anyone that I did make uncomfortable, I am sorry. I truly do apologise for that. There is no excuse. I was just wrong and I own all of it. Well, that's not true, because when you blocked all the people involved, you were bad-mouthing them on your Twitter account, which I can't prove because you deleted that Twitter account. In fact, you deleted a few of them, didn't you? For somebody that's been banned many times on Twitter, you're oddly relentless at trying desperately to stay on the platform, especially when you've got Gab, and I'm sure Gab loves you. In truth, your statement means nothing. There's actually two really interesting things about this, by the way. One is the fact that it is all a monstrous lie, and the second is the fact that this all hit the fan on the 1st of March, but you created this on February 28th. Gabriel, care to explain to us, who was the person this was originally intended for? Because I'm very much interested to know where all the quieter voices were when this happened. And also, I just want to say, you're using a phone that has predictive text. My statment, please. It was bad enough that I had to endure that font, but the spelling too. There is one last thing now I want to do. A conclusion and a final thought. My view is you need help, but you are not going to get it from the online community. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone involved had advice for you that I can't show you. But instead of that, because you like to be the guy that gets the last word in, I'm going to give you your own advice from your own mouth. Yeah, I'm that guy.
I have no sympathy for you. None whatsoever. I hope you leave the internet and seek help, because you are insane.
But you didn't actually think I'd let you have the last word in, did you? Your advice is pretty sage, though, I've got to say. Now, if you'd all excuse me, I'm going to go and have a hissy fit in my shuttle pod. Don't mind me. Thanks for being here, folks. It means the world to me. If you believe I could have gone harsher, do let me know. And Alex and I will make it happen.